the more we put bureaucracy and paperwork and stuff and the obligation to expose their financials, for example, entrepreneurs get very scared about that. So we were able, I believe, to show CVM that if we do that, we'll bring bad companies to the platforms. The good entrepreneurs would not choose to come to the platforms.
I'll talk now to Frederico Rizzo. He's founder and CEO at Broota, and he's an expert of investment-based crowdfunding, and he's starting this market here in Brazil. What is the environment nowadays here in the country?
It's a very interesting moment because we are just about, hopefully, to see a specific regulation for the crowdfunding, for the investment-based crowdfunding. Our SEC here, the CVM, after 2 years working with us and other platforms in Brazil, hopefully is launching the next 2 months this specific regulation. So we've seen a lot of the growing of the ecosystem in these last 3 years since we started. So we started in 2014 here, and it's very it's fascinating to see how many corporations have entered the market and sponsoring new programs for startups, and new angel investors willing to put money in startups. Besides our current economic situation and high interest rates and etc., there's a lot of people wanting to have more contact with startups and entrepreneurs.
And how is your dialogue with CVM?
So far, very good. As I said, we are about to see how the new regulation will come effectively, but it was a surprise from the beginning. Everyone, when we started and said that we wanted to do crowdfunding for investment, for startups, put a lot of problems within the regulation. Oh, the regulator, CVM, will never allow this kind of stuff. The bureaucracy in Brazil it's very complex. You'll never be able to do that. But since our first meeting with them, it was obvious that they wanted something like this. They wanted an innovation that would come from the ground, from the low end of the market. And if they had that, it would be much easier for a lot of initiatives that they were struggling for so many years with our stock markets, like Bovespa+, phases in the sector, trying to bring middle companies to the stock market. It's just really difficult. So they saw crowdfunding as an opportunity to boost this market as well. So we were very welcome within the CVM, and we work with them as an association to give our perspective of the market to their new regulation. So hopefully a lot of what is said and share with them, they will put in this new law right now.
Basically, in your opinion, how regulation must be here in Brazil?
Must be light, must give responsibility to the platforms, but also not demand too much audit and too much paperwork for the entrepreneur side. Basically, our position within the whole process is we cannot put too much friction to the startup, because it's really challenging to convince an entrepreneur to raise funds in an innovative vehicle as a crowdfunding platform. So if they have the chance to raise funds from a fund, a startup fund, or from a platform, from people that they don't know most of the time, they will prefer the first one, the fund. So the more we put bureaucracy and paperwork and stuff and the obligation to expose their financials, for example, entrepreneurs get very scared about that. So we were able, I believe, to show CVM that if we do that, we'll bring bad companies to the platforms. The good entrepreneurs would not choose to come to the platforms. So this, what we call the adverse selection, we were hopefully able to show CVM could not be part of the new regulation.
Which are the strongest countries in this industry, and how can you compare these countries to Brazil?
I believe England was one of the pioneers, and the UK and the United States, since the market there is the center of this startup market and venture capital industry. So they are much ahead. Both of them have a specific regulation for this market, although it's new as well. In the United States, the crowdfunding investment was regulated in May of last year, of 2016. So it's very new. But first, they have macroeconomic factors that help them a lot, like low interest rates. So investors have to look for better opportunities. We don't have that in Brazil. And second, the market, it's much more structured. There are players for each sector of development, each phase of the company. So crowdfunding comes in a specific part and have all the infrastructure, let's say, more ready to these platforms. I believe we are like 3-4 years behind them. It's not that much because it's very new, but there's a way to develop here as well.
Our high interest rates are very, very bad for this industry and others.
Definitely. What we see is investors are putting money here because not only the financial opportunities, there are not many cases of success in Brazil, like startups that made a lot of money for investors. So we still, as an environment, as an industry, need some success cases. They're very rare. So why are investors and companies putting a lot of money? Because they believe technologies will disrupt their markets, and for the investors, not as an institution, they want to be more close to innovation, to entrepreneurships. We talk with a lot of investors that look for companies that have, for example, an impact in society, like the impact investment. It's very significant for our industry. Small amount of money that otherwise could be donated to some organization, but now there are companies that are pursuing social and environmental impact. This has a lot of alignment, I would say, with the model of crowdfunding investment. So not only for the money, for the returns, but a lot of for the impact and the innovation, and to be closer to young people and entrepreneurship.
And which kind of entrepreneurs come asking for capital?
Usually, unfortunately, males, right? There are not many females, girls in this sector yet. From 30 to 40 years, and most of the time it's not their first time as an entrepreneur, because we do quite a filter in those companies. So we have today more than 3,000 startups in our platform, but for example, just 7 of them raising funds. So it's a difficult funnel for them to raise. And we look basically for entrepreneurs that have experience in their market, that have experience as an entrepreneur, because it's really hard to be an entrepreneur, and that use technology, mostly use technology as a differentiator, as a competitive advantage, right, in their business. So technology is very important. As I said before, social impact is also something that have a lot of traction within our investor base.
And how does Broota work?
Basically, we have 2 models. One is the crowdfunding. The other one is what we call the syndicates. The crowdfunding is when companies come directly to us and try to do more like a public offer and show to anyone that they are looking for investment. Usually they look for investors that are always also like clients of their products, so very strong support base of clients. This is the crowdfunding. The other part is the syndicates, which is more like group of angels when there is a lead investor, the smart money in this market, and these investors have another group of people that invest alongside him. So there is one person here that has the access to the good startups. This is the most important thing in the industry, right? In the venture capital industry, the entrepreneurs choose whom they want to work with. And so if I'm an entrepreneur in the fintech sector, in the financial sector, new entrepreneurs that are also building something in this market want to take money from me, and not money by itself. So the syndicates, it's more like putting money alongside smart angels or mini seed funds.
And nowadays, how many entrepreneurs are being supported?
Since our beginning, we raise funds for 45 companies since 2014. A little bit more than $5 million raised. And right now, as I said, there are 7 to 10 companies raising funds in our platform. Most of them, more than the majority, are raising funds in the syndicates model. So it's confidential. You don't see them publicly raising funds. It's not the crowdfunding as most people associate, right, and think. So it's more like a marketplace for investors and entrepreneurs. And the entrepreneur is able to access more easily those investors. I have 5,000 investors in our base, for example. So for an entrepreneur, instead of sending emails for each of them and scheduling coffees and lunch, they can send a contact for 200, 300, or a maximum 5,000 of them. So it's faster to raise funds like that.
Frederico, thank you so much for this great interview under this beautiful jabuticaba tree. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Luciane Miranda to Dukascopy TV.